Alright, hey Hunters, Halozu here for another 5.5 video after quite a while. For those who don't know, D&D 5.5 is a personal project I have been working on for quite a while now. And it's basically take 5.5, 5e and make it better. So this includes a lot of stuff being done, from adding content to revisiting old content. So there's been a few major changes from before. So I decided that I would do a more general video since we don't, well, I don't have much in the way of big content, but as you'll see, there is some interesting stuff in the tabs. Don't worry about YouTube, that's just what I was watching before I started this. So, let's begin with the new content. So, we're going to start with spells, because there's a few things to talk about there. Then we'll go over to, I guess we'll do the old classes next, and then we'll end with the previews for the new classes. So, kind of end on a high note, basically. So we'll worry about Swordmage and Warlord later. But first, let's get to some of the cantrips. So, first off, we have Color Strike, which is a completely new cantrip. So you'll actually notice it is an illusion cantrip. Also, I added flavor text to a lot of the cantrips since last time. But it's available to the Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, and Swordmage. It has the direct damage and radiant tags. And tags, I think I've added them since last time, but basically they're just keywords that allow you to identify what a spell does. So some stuff might care about something being direct damage, others might be periodic damage, and other tags are just used for certain spells. It's a standard action, of course, which is just your action. It's just renamed because just calling it action is kind of annoying. 120-foot range, verbal and somatic components, instant/1 round. Basically, you launch a beam of dazzling colors at a target in range as a ranged spell attack, dealing 1d8 radiant damage and giving -2 on all skill checks till the end of your next turn, and it upgrades as you progress. It's just a simple damaging spell for illusionists to use. I decided to make it radiant because I felt like that would make it special, where we already have the Phantom Blade cantrip. So I wanted a second damaging cantrip option that would be more of a traditional mage spell. And then our other cantrip, just double checking, I haven't added any more, is Haunting Fates. Albeit there is actually a third one, but we'll talk about it later. So, Haunting Fates is a divination cantrip, available to the Bard, Cleric, Warlock, Wizard, and Invoker, and Swordmage. So, it's a direct damage, and it's Psychic. Standard action, 60 feet, verbal and somatic, instantaneous, and you force the target to witness alternate possibilities. They must make a whiz save or take 1d10 psychic damage, and it upgrades by 1d10. So basically, it's kind of designed as the electric flame/frostbolt equivalent, but for saving throws, and also is designed to add a damaging option to divination. As one of the goals I had was basically expand what each one can do and make sure all the wizard schools have a damaging option that they can use so that you can feel like, oh, I'm an illusionist. I'm using illusion spells in combat and always have access to a damaging illusion option. And the same with Diviner now, with Haunting Fates. So they are admittedly designed as kind of a, yeah, it's just to expand the arsenal, and specifically expand the offensive arsenal of certain ones. But Color Strike is also designed as a more tricksy spell, where I can imagine a few uses for that skill penalty, which it's definitely one that can have a lot of unique possibilities, such as Perception being perhaps the most notable, but it's certainly a fun spell, and I think both are going to be cool new additions. So, new first level. Right off the bat, we have Divine Smite. So, this is admittedly a we're gonna go to 60. Yeah, it's just gonna be bad. But this is a Paladin exclusive spell. So basically, like 1D&D, I decided, you know what, making Divine Smite a spell just makes sense. I'm going to keep that. So that's the idea here. And it's an evocation. It's got the variable tag as well as smite, meaning that it's... And also, as a side note, I also stole the idea that you cast them similar to how you cast them in 1D&D, but it's a free action, not a bonus action. But there is a rule that specifies you can only cast one spell of first level or higher each turn. Yeah, you're not breaking the game with it. There are a few notable changes, though. So, A, it's variable. That was something I actually did before, but here it's kind of been expanded upon, where you always prepare Necrotic or Radiant, so you can always prepare it, and it's prepared. So basically, each day, choose the damage type. By default, it's Necrotic or Radiant. And the extra damage has an additional target of Celestials. This is designed to kind of build up the idea that if you're a Dark Paladin, well, you can actually do more damage to Celestials, and not just Fiends and Undead, so it was designed in that way. And then we see a new spell. So, Essence Slam for the Mistblade. This is a very special one where its school is actually variable, meaning that it's not just available. It's not just an evocation or something. No. Your subclass will determine the school, because most of them are spell school based. I decided if you're using the evocation subclass, it's an evocation for you. That's how it works. And the damage types are based on the essence list, with the essence list basically being a list of damage types that you can choose for your weapons to deal damage of. So you do have that. It's otherwise works very similar to Divine Smite, right down to the fact that it also has a list of extra damage targets. And it's specifically aberrations, constructs, and fae. So basically it's designed to target 3 different creature types that are kind of more mystical. Though I will admit this list is less of a thematic choice and more of a I didn't have... It just kind of ended up being the leftovers, so they have them. But then we also have another new spell in Predator Strike, which is it's just physical damage of the triggering attack's type. It's not something special. That could be added later, but I do like the idea that rangers do physical damage instead. It's also transmutation by default. And their extra damage targets are beasts, dragons, and monstrosities. Kind of went for a more, if it's a bestial looking target, then you can do extra damage to it. And then that's it. So those 3 spells were added. I haven't counted them against the total number of spells that I'm adding. Mostly because they aren't like other spells, and they're more of a, oh, hey, here's this class feature. It's going to give you the spell, and it kind of acts as a default option. And they all get kind of the same spell. And that also means Predator Strike did lose the extra damage thing it did. But I think this is more balanced overall, where it's like, yeah, your new option, it's similar to Divine Smite, but will trigger on different things. Also, Soul Strike, I think it has been changed since you last saw it. So basically, it kind of progresses as a cantrip with the damage you can take. So if you're at a higher level, you can take more damage to basically deal more damage. So you can risk more to deal more. And now on to the errata, which we're going to have to go to, like, yeah, we're going to have to go to, like, 60% zoom. Yeah. So here we have the errata. There's a couple of things to note. For example, all the smite spells were changed to do the same trigger. False Life, I think, is a new one where it's been changed to a static amount. And then let's find it. True Strike is here. So, yeah, it's been buffed. So, the reworking is very simple. It's still a divination spell. It's available to the Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Mistblade, and Swordmage. But it's a first level spell now. It's an enhancement spell. It's a bonus action, most notably. Its range is now 60 feet. And it has a flat attack roll bonus that affects all attack rolls made with a single action. So, basically, this works with extra attack. It's not just one attack. And it's not using advantage, so you can use it much more liberally. And also, it can't be used to trigger certain abilities, like your sneak attack. But choose a creature in range. First time you use an action that requires one or more attack rolls, you gain plus spell mod to the attack rolls against the target with that action. So basically, and this does mean it works with Scorching Ray and stuff like that, but you can't, specifically it would work with it in Eldritch Blast, so this is powerful with it, but you do have to, if you're trying to do a first level spell, you have to do it the turn before. But it's basically designed where, yeah, it does cost a spell slot, but you're not losing your action to gain advantage. It's like, no, it's actually worth casting now and taking it. And I don't think there's really many other notable changes here, as I recall. So we're going to skip over that to talk a bit about the normal classes. So overall, there are a few things to mention. So since last time, I decided, similar to what 1D&D is doing, I'm going to have 4 subclasses available by default. So that means that all the classes are going to have 4 subclasses instead of just 3. And also some of them got changed around. So Barbarian is going to have Path of the Zealot and Storm Herald. Currently, they are unchanged from before, but the idea is there that these two are going to get changed instead of Dervish being added. And I have saved Dervish, so it's saved. It's just not going to be a default one. And I don't think there's any changes to the other two currently. For Bard, I believe I decided for Glamour and Whispers. Currently have yet to update them. Valor and Lore are unchanged. Cleric, I believe... Did I mess with the core features? No, I didn't. Okay. Their core features are still the same. I'm not using the order stuff yet. I might implement that, but I'm currently happy with what I do have. And actually, why am I looking at them? They didn't change. So Cleric, Cleric and Wizard still have their 8 starting subclasses. It's unchanged. Now Druid, this one has seen some updates. So let's go over it. So Druidic now comes with the Speak with Animals spell, always being prepared. And once per day, you can cast it without a spell slot. I believe this showed up in 1D&D, and it was like, oh, that's actually a cool idea. So Gifts of the Wild. So instead of Wild Shape, you have Gifts of the Wild. It still has Wild Shape, and Wild Companion. They are the same as they were, pretty much. And it's just a rename to the resource, so it's like, hey, you have all these alt uses. And yeah. Also, Wild Shape has the Primal Beast stat block. So I am planning on using the templated version. I have yet to make the actual templates, but there's also THP, which is Wiz plus half Druid level when you enter Wild Shape, and they're lost when you exit Wild Shape. So basically you get some extra durability. So at first level, you can be a terrestrial form. And then you can be tiny, small, or medium. With tiny form being very weak. I don't know if it's mentioned, but tiny will have its own... It will have a big penalty. 4th level, you have aquatic. 8th level, you have aerial. And you can unlock the large size. Wild Companion, roughly as it was before. But it upgrades. So at 4th level, it is +2 AC and +1 on all saving throws. At 12th level, you can expend 2 uses of Wild Gifts to cast Summon Beast without material component. For a number of minutes equal to half your Druid level. And at 18th level, you can cast it at 4th level this way. 2nd level, unknown feature, because Wild Gifts is at 1st level now, to simplify things a lot. One with Nature. When you Art and Beast form, you can concentrate on 2 different Druid spells at once that require concentration, and are of a total level equal to half your Druid level. If you attempt to cast a 3rd concentration spell, you choose which of the other 2 will end. Whenever you would roll a concentration check, roll separate checks for both spells you're concentrating on. So basically, you can concentrate on multiple spells at a time, Timeless Body. It's Timeless Body. Beast spells is at 12th level, so you can cast cantrips in levels of spells of 3rd level or lower while in a wild shape. If you have material components, you automatically provide them. And then Archdruid, infinite wild gift uses. So, Druid circles, circled land. So this also has seen a rework to kind of match what 1D&D is doing, where you have this Power of the Land feature now. So when you prepare spells during a long rest, choose one of the following biomes: arid, polar, temperate, or tropical, and you gain spells from that list as circle spells, always prepared, and you have the associated land energy. So arid is associated with fire, polar is cold, temperate is lightning, and tropical is acid. And all the spells, of course, are themed around that damage type, for the most part. Some of them have some other stuff, but you'll usually see a lot of spells with a certain damage type in these. And your wild gifts is get Wrath of the Land. So it's a 10-foot radius sphere, 20 feet. Dex save or take D12 piercing and land energy damage to each enemy, so each creature of choice, and then each other creature gets Prof plus Wiz THP, and the damage is increased as cantrips progress. So the idea is to kind of give you a souped up cantrip here, and it also is very similar to the one they gave Circle Land, but I decided to add, to make it piercing and then you're the same type as a lot of the spells you use, just to make it a bit more thematically appropriate. Natural Recovery, it's Natural Recovery. It's at 3rd level though. Land Stride, pretty much unchanged, I think. You also get Primal Empowerment whenever you damage or heal a target with a spell, or Wrath of the Land. For the first time each round, add plus d6 to the damage and healing. At 14th level, it's a d10. Nature's Ward. Can be charmed or frightened by beasts, fae, and plants. Advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened by other creatures. And you have resistance to poison and the type of your land energy. So if you're resistant to the damage type you're dealing that day. And Nature's Sanctuary, it's Nature's Sanctuary. I might update this as well, or change it entirely, not sure. But Druid of Many Lands, choose a second biome. So basically you have both types, and this also means that Wrath of the Land now does 3 damage types. So, yeah. I'm happy with it. Circle of the Moon. So you have Combat Wild Shape, which is still the old one. I might update that to be like the new one where you cast Abjuration spells with the healing spells being Abjuration. You also have Kin to the Wild, where it increases your max HP. And you have advantage to identify animals and on skill checks to identify shapeshifters. So then circle forms, you get the form power of each wild shape form. So you have different abilities that you can take up to kind of customize your wild shape further. And at 6th level, you get Primal Strikes, which is extra attack for Bestial Strike. It's as simple as that. And the goal is to kind of balance it out where you don't have to worry about looking through stat blocks. You just take a form and boom, you have various abilities you can do with it. Elemental Wild Shape. Whenever you enter Wild Shape, choose a energy damage type, and it's added to the physical damage type you deal. So rather than dealing just one physical, you deal physical and energy. 1,000 forms. While in Wild Shape, you can swap between forms and sizes freely without ending the effect. However, if you change from one form to another, such as terrestrial to aerial, can't make bestial strikes in the new form that turn. 14th is Apex Beast. Whenever you enter a wild shape, you can choose to become huge, getting -2 AC but +1 to attack rolls and dealing plus proc damage with bestial strikes. And at 20th level, you can become gargantuan, getting -2 AC and -1 on saving throws, but getting +2 on attack rolls and plus 2 times your prof bonus with bestial strikes. So basically, it's kind of what I suggested for Circle of the Moon with the templated wild shape, where what if the 14th level feature was just, you can become even bigger? Granted, it does have a penalty here where it's easier to hit you, but it's designed to be pretty powerful, where it's like, yeah, you're a big beast now. You get to go crazy with it. 20th level, Druid Claw and Fang. Might actually be the same as I had it. I don't remember, but Wild Shape can be used as free action once per round on each turn. And you have +1 to attack rolls and +1 to damage rolls on all your attacks in Wild Shape, stacking with Apex Beast. So, yeah. It gets pretty crazy. Also, the ones being updated are Circle of Dreams and Circle of the Seas. So, these have a new wild gifts. Circle of the Seas is brought over because it's just ingenious. Where it's like, you know, it does actually make sense to split it off from Circle of Land. And then Dreams is the one that needs updates the most. That's why I've listed it instead of stars. So, that is the Druid Circle stuff. Fighter. I think I just added the new order with... oh yeah, also, Eldritch Blade is now the Spell Sword. And they're called Orders now, as a kind of way to add thematics to the class and how it works. I don't think much has changed yet, though I might update it to reflect what 1D&D has been doing as well. And the Arcane Marksman is the one being updated because it needs it. Oh boy, do they need it. I don't think any core features have changed, though there might be a potential upgrade to give them extra attack. A triple attack again, which I might also be adding to Barbarian, though I plan on keeping Monk as the only one who gets the 4. And I think I'm going to have it where Fighter and Barbarian get it a level later. Level issue later. But the Monk, we have Way of the Open Hand still. I don't think any have changed, but the 4th one is going to be Way of Shadows. Since I had originally delayed it to put Kensei in, because I felt it would be better, but now it's being added back as the quote-unquote 4th one, albeit Kensei is really the 4th one. But that's the update there. Paladin. So there is a core feature change in that Divine Smite works differently. So you learn the Divine Smite 1st level spell. Doesn't count against Paladin spells prepared, and you also get a list of damage types from your subclass that you can prepare. Arn's Divine Powers here. And Improved Divine Smite is a bit different and nerfed, because honestly, I do not like it in base 5e, where it's, yeah, no, I don't like Paladins getting even more extra damage. They don't need it. But here, it's been changed to be, you prepare 2 damage types instead of 1. Boom. And I don't think anything else has really changed. Well, actually, there is another change where, with Divine Smite's damage, you prepare all the types, and then do 2 each time you use it. So, rather than just doing 1 damage type, you do 2. And in something that should surprise no one, the 4th option here is Oath of Shadows, aka Oathbreaker. Also, their first feature, they have a feature called Hand of Death, which is basically just going to be a dark Lay on Hands, where you use Lay on Hands to deal damage instead of heal. That's the basic idea I'm going for there. Ranger. Slight update to core features. Still a favored foe. You get Predator Strike now, which is learn Predator Strike first level spell. Doesn't count against Ranger spells prepared. Keeping with Primal Awareness. And I think everything else is roughly similar to what it was. At least when I last showed it off. But there is that update to Predator Strike being a spell. And the Conclaves. Hunter Conclave might get a slight rework to add, to make Superior Defense options be part of Hunter's Defense, and Superior's Defense being you get a second. The rest I might actually stick with for now, but we'll see. Beastmaster, I think, is pretty much the same, actually. Horizon Walker's here. And I think this one I didn't really change just yet. And the fourth one is going to be Monster Slayer. Since it does not like playing well with... it kind of needs a rework the most. Similar to 1D&D, as I said, with the way their extra damage feature worked as a kind of... It plays in a similar space to Favored Foe / the new favorite enemy. So I decided that, yeah, it's going to be changed since it's got some redundancies with Hunter's Mark. Rogue, I don't think I've added Cunning Strikes yet. Yeah, I haven't. I'm probably going to do that in the near future, but you also have your Rogue Guilds, which is the rename to subclasses. Ranger had their subclasses renamed to Conclaves previously, but I've kept that. But Rogues now have guilds. With the fourth guild being the Mastermind Guild. I might change this over with Inquisitive, because it does need some updating. But right now, it's like, yeah, you have these guilds. Mastermind being one that really needs updates badly, though Inquisitive could get bumped up since it also needs updates with how Rogue works. Sorcerer we're going to come back to later. Warlock. So I'd actually started working on extra patrons, but I think currently there's... Oh, I've actually done some stuff for Elemental, but the idea right now is that there's Elemental and Vestige, which currently are unchanged, but I had started working on them because I had started working on a very specific one, which is actually the Shadowlord patron. So, currently lacking a 6th level feature. I think I have... Oh, yeah. I've just got 1st through 3rd done. But the options available to all Shadowlord... Also probably going to change expanded spells to patron spells, because it just works better. Deep Speech might be changed out. There's not really good Shadowfell language, but all of them have Hex, Darkness, Summon Shadow Spawn, Phantom Chasm, and Dance Macabre. While you have the Despair and Souls option, with Despair being Cause Fear, Phantasmal Force, Fear, Phantasmal Killer, and Excise from Sight, which is a new spell coming. And then Souls is Soul Strike, Life Drain, Spirit Guardians, Soul Burst, and Enervation. So you're going to get several new spells, including the Sacrifice Life for damage. And they are a dexterity-based build, so you have Soul Shift, which is whenever you drop a creature to 0 HP or something dies, reduce all damage you take by minus dex till the start of your next turn. So basically, you turn partly incorporeal, and that's the idea, where it's like, you know, you take less damage as you take on a slightly ghost-like form. Then you have Shadowlord's Curse. So currently not worked on, but the idea is this is just Hexblade's Curse modified. So it's brought over Power of Shadow. Once per round is a free action at the end of your turn. You can deal Dex, Cold, and Psychic or Necrotic damage to a creature cursed by you. So Shadowlord's Curse, Hex, and Bestow Curse being 3 spells that can do it. So it's kind of based around the curse aspect, and the reason Shadowlord is the 4th is because it's one that really needs an update. And their familiars are Living Darkness familiar and the Fell Raven, with Summon Shadow Spawn as their Pact Spirit. And also the 4th Pact boon is Pact of the Bow. Which I think is currently just copy-pasted Pact of the Blade. But it does have some slight modifications where you get Perception instead of medium armor and shields. You also conjure ammunition from thin air. And I think I'm also going to change the Thirsting Blade out to be you deal more damage with your attacks instead. So you just do flat more damage. But it's also going to have a special damage type tied to your patron. I don't think there was any base changes currently. I actually added that at 7th. Yeah. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and add the extra slot at 6th level. Then, of course, the Mystic Arcanums are shown separately. With the Mystic Arcanum slots. So you do also get an additional Mystic Arcanum slot of 6th and 7th level. Yeah. It is what it is. Not much changes yet. Wizard... I think currently Wizard is unchanged. But there may or may not be a change to Spell Mastery. So I'm actually going to change it now. And make it standard action only. like 1 D&D, since that is a change they're making, since they've mentioned that they're kind of tired of people just taking reaction spells with spell mastery, so they're making it where it has to be a standard action as they intended. So now here you also do that. So everything else I think is currently the same. Might be some other tweaks coming, but and then also the base wizard traditions currently unchanged. Actually, I'm gonna real quickly, because I forgot earlier. Have I actually edited these two? Oh yeah. So the Fel Raven can fly. Living Darkness can climb. So Living Darkness has better AC, but it can't fly, so that's why it gets it. Both are very dexterous. Living Darkness is hilariously weak compared to the Fel Raven. It's also much dumber on average, but the Living Darkness has a lot more charisma. It's also tougher, too. As Deception Stealth versus Perception Investigation. Living Shadow can't speak, but the Fel Raven has deep speech in all languages, you know. Currently doesn't have a passive. This one has Amorphous Shadow, which is just it can squeeze through any space provided neither side is in bright light. So it's kind of a weaker Amorphous, but Fel Raven has Fel Peck, which is D6 piercing plus Charisma, Cold, and Necrotic. While the Ooze has a 10-foot reach one, which is only D4 plus Charisma, Cold, and Necrotic damage. And it's also not physical. They also have the Shadow Meld bonus action. So you can move half its speed into your space, melding into your shadow until it uses a move action to leave your space. While melded, it moves with you in your space. Doesn't count as being there for you. So basically it doesn't occupy your space. It's as if it was your shadow. It's plus 2 AC, Stealth, and Deception. Unless you've taken radiant damage since your last turn. Can't be detected unless a creature succeeds a Perception or Investigation check against the familiar's Deception check. Your reach for spells is increased by 5 feet. So basically it just lets you have an easier time touching people with your spells. So it gives you better reach. As you basically... Because the idea is that it's kind of like it uses your shadow to cast spells. Not much else to talk about at the moment there. And Sorcerer. Oh boy, is this a fun one. So, Sorcerer's Origin, Spellcasting, Spellguard, Bloodline spells. This is a new one. This is basically the innate sorcery from the previous, the first 1 D&D Sorcerer. So, I might add the new one instead of Spellguard, but I do plan on keeping Bloodline spells. So you have Arcane Bolt and another first level spell determined by your Bloodline. They don't count against cantrips and spells known. And Arcane's Bolt damage type is determined by your Bloodline. And you can cast the first level spell once per day at first level without expending a spell slot. So improved Bloodline spells. Cast the first level spell at second level now. And you have a modification to Arcane Bolt. 9th level. Cast the first level spell at third instead. And a modification to that first level spell now. Powerful Bloodline spells, you now cast it at 4th level. And you have a second Arcane Bolt upgrade. And 17th level True Bloodline spells, cast at 5th level now. And your 1st level spell has a 2nd modification. So and then at 20th level, this does actually mean it's cast at 6th level. So it does actually affect Bloodline spells. So what about the Sorcerer Surgeons? So we have Dragon Magic, and they have Dragon Claws. And Arcane Bolt is the same as your Dragon's Ancestry. You also have an Elemental Breath now at 3rd level. I think that was there before, but I don't know if it integrated Strength. Improved Bloodline Magic. When you cast Arcane Bolt, you can make a melee spell attack against all creatures in a 15-foot cone or 30-foot line, determined by your Draconic Ancestry's breath shape. Yeah, basically, an Arcane Bolt, by the way, it's Sorcerous Burst. That's just what it is. It's just been renamed to be more generic. But this is basically what the upgrade should have been in 1 D&D Playtest 5. Greater Bloodline Magic. When you use Dragon Claws, attack a 2nd target in your reach. Powerful Bloodline Magic. Whenever cast Arcane Bolt, whenever you use it as cone or line, it deals half damage on a miss. And then True Bloodline Magic. When you cast Dragon Claws, you make 2 attacks against a single target instead of attacking 2 targets. So basically, it's just a true extra attack. Also, Draconic Presence, I might actually change at this point to be a dragon form. Wild Magic. They have Bloodline Magic. So Chaos Bolt is their spell. So it's been added as theirs. Which also means that it's not guaranteed to be a new spell. The others all get new spells, but they get Chaos Bolt because, of course they do. And whenever you cast Arcane Bolt, you roll a d10, and it determines the damage type. I also made it where the Nat 1 is Force. So you can do any energy damage type, but it's random. Improved Bloodline Magic. You add damage dice on a Nat 1 instead of a max roll. Greater Bloodline Magic. When you cast Chaos Bolt, it automatically jumps if you critically hit. So, yeah, it's more likely to jump now, which could lead to some really explosive shenanigans. Powerful Bloodline Magic. Whenever you roll Arcane Bolt's damage types, roll twice and use either result. Or you can just choose whatever damage type you want if you roll the same result. And True Bloodline Magic. It deals damage of both types you roll, and can crit on a roll of 1 lower than normal. So 19 or 20. So yeah, they have a lot of chaotic stuff going on. Storm Magic is the 3rd one. So their Bloodline Magic. You get Thunderstroke. And Arcane Bolt is Lightning or Thunder. Chosen whenever you cast the spell. Improved Bloodline Magic. Whenever you add damage to your Arcane Bolt, you can instead give it to a target in 15 feet of the original instead. So, and it can still trigger another dice on the original target. So, basically when you roll more damage, it's able to jump to other targets. Greater Bloodline Magic. When you cast Thunderstroke, the target spell attack has disadvantage on saving throw if the attack roll hit, and the thunder damage dealt is doubled if the spell attack crits. And Powerful Bloodline Magic. You cast Arcane Bolt, it deals lightning and thunder damage, and it can be split against spell attacks against up to 3 targets in 15 feet of at least one other target, dividing the base damage dice among them. Additional damage dice Can be divided up amongst the targets as you choose. At 17th level, you can choose up to 4 targets this way. So basically, yeah, you can just do a lot of AoE damage with Arcane Bolt now, and hit a ridiculous number of targets with it. True Bloodline Magic, when you cast Thunderstroke, can crit on a roll 1 lower than normal, so 19 or 20, and all targets of the thunder damage have -2 on their save if the spell attack hit. So basically, if you hit with the spell attack, you're more likely to hit with the other stuff. Earthen Magic is the third one, or the fourth one, so it's returning. Their Bloodline Magic, they get Earthen Armor, first level spell, and their Arcane Bolt is physical damage of your choice when you cast it. Improved Bloodline Magic, it can be a melee spell attack with a range of 15 feet instead of a ranged spell attack, and you can slide the target 5 feet in any direction on hit. There's a bonus to Earthen Armor, currently unknown, and both of them are currently unknown, sadly, but powerful Bloodline Magic. When you cast Arcane Bolt, choose to do 2 damage types instead of 1, and it can deal half of the total damage to another creature in 5 feet of the original target hit. So, what are the Bloodline spells besides Chaos Bolt? Because you know Chaos Bolt. I'm gonna expand this a little bit. There we go. Okay, so Arcane Bolts. It's an evocation cantrip, available to all bloodlines. It is direct damage variable, standard action, of course. And it has a 180-foot range. So it has a long one by default. And it's a somatic component only. Launch bolts of arcane energy at target and range. As a melee or ranged spell attack that deals d6 damage on hit. Actually, so it's a ranged. So it's melee touch on melee, 180 foot on ranged, and it's d6 damage on hit. If the damage dice rolled the maximum value, increase the damage by d6. You can only add spell mod extra dice this way. Roughly the same as it was the original time, though the melee attack is added. I might upgrade this to d8s like Sorcerer's Burst was in playtest 7. I might actually do that now, because I think that's more fun. When it's hitting harder. There we go. Dragon Claws. It's the Draconic Magic Transmutation. Slashing THP and variable. So it's melee touch and transforms to Claw Dragon. Make his melee spell attack d12 plus Charisma slashing damage plus 2d8 variable damage of your ancestry's type. And the variable damage is increased with this spell. And it's half damage on a miss. Then if you dealt any damage with the spell, you gain Charisma plus Strength THP. Chaos Bolt is Chaos Bolt. What do you expect? It's, you know, it's doing what it's always done. So, no harm there. Thunderstroke is the other new one that's done. Earthen Magic is, or Earthen Armor is work in progress, but the idea is that it's going to be kind of a mage armor variant in a way. So what's Thunderstroke? 180 foot range. Somatic only. Direct damage, lightning, and thunder. It's an evocation. And you call up a lightning strike at a target in range as a ranged spell attack, dealing 2d4 plus charisma lightning damage on a hit and half on a miss. Then the target and each creature of your choice in 10 feet of them must make a con save or take 2d4 thunder damage on a hit. on a fail, or half on a success. And both deal half damage if they don't succeed. And you add plus 1d4 damage with both the lightning and thunder effects per slot level above first, so this one scales like a monster at times, so you basically get 2d4 extra damage per level. So yeah, this one, it's definitely more of a ranged build now. So that's the Sorcerer, and that's all the default classes. So all the old guard. Now on to the fun part. The new classes. Actually not going to cover the Swordmage's spell list because it's very work in progress. It's just a lot of direct damage spells and smite spells. But what are these classes like? Let's start with the Swordmage. So we have some flavor text here. It's a D8 hit dice subclass, or class. So you have D8 hit dice, simple and martial weapons, no armor. You do get clever for supplies like a wizard. Get to pick 3 skills from acrobatics, arcana, athletics, history, insight, investigation, nature, religion, sleight of hand, and stealth. Use int as a spellcasting ability. And your focus is weapons you're proficient with. See blade cast. You prepare cantrips like a wizard does. And you're very similar to a wizard, basically. They even have a spellbook, which is pretty much the same as a wizard. Then we have Swordmage's Aegis, which is your subclass. Sword Sage. Some players might actually realize what this refers to, and is a cheeky reference to. However, when you make a weapon attack, you can use int instead of strength or dexterity for the attack and damage rolls. You can use weapons to do the somatic components of Swordmage spells you cast, meaning you don't need a hand free to make them, unless specifically required by a spell. But whenever you cast a blade spell, you can make a ranged attack, weapon attack instead of melee weapon attack. You also have the ability to blade cast as a standard action. Casting a direct damage spell that isn't a blade spell, nor one you know from another class. It takes only a standard action to cast. Change spell's range and area depending on the weapon used. And basically the rest is just shared with the order of the spell sword, where you basically cast spells through your weapon. And you also have arcane warding at first level. While you're conscious and not wearing armor or using a shield, your AC equals 13 plus int. You add an additional plus 2 AC if you aren't wielding a two-handed weapon or dual wielding. So basically, you have a better mage armor by default at all times. And it gets a bonus if you would be able to use a shield, basically. Then at second level, you get Sword Bond, which is just the ability to bind a sword to you. So you bind a weapon to yourself. And it's always considered magical, if you didn't already. Bonus attack and damage rolls apply to spell attacks, spell DCs, and damage rolls as spells cast through it. And you can use a bonus action to teleport it to your hand from 1 mile away. 6th level, it basically gets a +1 bonus if it doesn't already have either. And you can teleport it from up to 10 miles away now. 11th level, it's +2 magic item bonus if it doesn't already have that or better. And you can teleport it from anywhere on the same plane of existence. And that's supposed to be at 17th level. It's +3, and you can teleport it from any plane of existence. Only have one bonded weapon at a time. Change your bonded weapon to a new one when you use the ritual again. But whenever you cast a spell that conjures a special weapon, such as Mage Sword or Mage Bow, it is granted the bonuses of this feature as if it was a bonded weapon without replacing your current bonded weapon. So basically, you get to bind a weapon to yourself and it improves. And also bringing back the idea of what the old sword bond did from 4th edition. Sword Sage's Flourish at 5th level is their extra attack. Whenever you blade cast or cast a spell as a standard action, you can make a weapon attack before casting the spell, gaining plus prof to the first spell attack against the attack's target this turn, giving them minus prof on their first saving throw against the spell before the start of your next turn. Can't use smite spells on the weapon attack if you're casting a spell 1st level or higher this way. So you can't smite in Fireball. It's still banned, but you do get to cantrip and smite. 11th level, extra flourish. Whenever blade casts a cantrip or use the attack action on turn, you can make 2 weapon attacks instead of just 1. And true extra flourish. You can use extra flourish with any Sword Sage's Flourish attack. So basically, you always get the 2 attacks rather than 1. Because extra flourish by default doesn't work with 1st level or higher spells. But it's kind of designed to have an alternative to extra attack where, you're a different sort of class. You're a caster first, so your extra attack is weaker, but you do have the ability to basically cast through magic or cast through weapon attacks. So that's the core features for now. The rest is work in progress. So what about the Aegises? There's going to be 4: Aegis of Assault, Shielding, Ensnarement, and Subtlety. Ensnarement and Subtlety are currently heavily work in progress, where they don't even have their first abilities. But I do have stuff for Assault and Shielding. So Aegis of Assault has Sword Sage's Wrath. Weapon attacks deal +1 extra force damage on hit, or plus 1d4 if it's made through the attack action or as an opportunity attack. If you cast a damaging spell that deals damage of a type other than force since the start of your next turn, you can change the extra damage to the types of that spell. Extra damage is increased at 5th, 11th, and 17th level as a cantrip would be. So basically, you just get an extra cantrip where it's like, hey, your weapon attacks are more powerful. And the Assault Aegis. So all of them are going to have an Aegis, which is you mark a creature in 60 feet as a bonus action. Lasts for 10 minutes until you use the feature again. Well, marked by the Aegis. So for Assault, it's when you have a weapon attacker direct damage spell that damages the target. Deal plus 1d4 extra damage to it. Whenever it damages a creature, you can use a reaction to make it roll a dex save or take 1d4 plus strength force damage if you cast. And it also, like Sword Sage's Wrath, will be changed to a different damage type if you've cast a spell of a certain damage type. And these effects increase to 1d6 at 11th level. So it's d6 plus strength on the reaction, or just plus 1d6 extra damage when you hit the Aegis target. Aegis of Shielding. Enhanced Warding. You have +1 to all saving throws while Arcane Warding is active, with an extra +1 saving throws if you have the extra AC. So if you're getting the shield bonus, you have +2 instead. And your max HP is increased by +1 per level. So you get even more HP now, since you are kind of designed to be a tank, as Aegis is Shielding. And Shielding Aegis, well, marked as -1 to attack rolls and save DCs of their abilities, and whenever it damages one or more creatures with an attack or ability, you can use a reaction to grant the targets of that attack or ability con THP, so basically just reducing the damage dealt by con. So that is the Swordmage. It's kind of designed to be a very special caster who uses the weapon, and kind of has a very different style where you're more aggressive caster than a wizard, but you trade a lot of wizard's utility for that. And the Warlord. Currently no base flavor, but you have D10 hit dice. They have pretty much the same list as fighters and skills, but they have charisma and wisdom saves instead of... But you get to pick any 3 artisans, tools, and or gaming sets. You get simple martial weapons and all armor. And at first level, you have your tactics, which is your subclass. You also get to choose fighting style. It's pretty much any fighting style except the magic one. And then we have a feature called Tactical Edge. So this one is basically just you have this pool of resources equal to proficiency plus your edge modifier, which is tied to your tactics. So it'll be one of 4 stats that you use. And it's usually a mental stat, by the way, that determines your effectiveness with edge. And these are short or long rest based. And whenever you miss with an attack roll, you can expend a tactical edge to get +2 on the attack roll. And it says your edge modifier is the ability to score based on your commander's tactics. But the miss on attack roll is really just designed as a way of saying, hey, if you miss your attack roll, hey, here's this default way of using tactical edge. Then we have Take Command, which is kind of the main ability that it's the core of what this class does. So you gain the ability to give extra damage actions to your allies using verbal and or somatic gestures, and you can use telepathy if you have it. So allow an ally in 60 feet to take the action. So basically you give one of various bonuses to your allies. So the verbal or somatic, it's basically similar to casting a spell where you use one or both to give the ally the action, and it triggers stuff as appropriate. As a standard action, you command an ally to make a single weapon or consumable attack, cast a standard action cantrip, or take the dash, dodge, or hide action. When you command an ally to make an attack or cast a damaging spell, you can expend a tactical edge to add plus edge to the attack roll or plus edge to the save DC. As a move action, you command an ally to cast a move action cantrip or move up to half their speed while you move up to half your speed. If you command the ally to move, you can expend a tactical edge to let them move their full speed instead. And this doesn't remove your half speed movement. And it's kind of designed in a way where you can still move if you want to. And as a bonus action, you command an ally to cast a bonus action cantrip, use a consumable that doesn't use an attack, take the disengage action, and if you command an ally to disengage, expend a tactical edge to grant the ally +2 AC in all saving throws till the start of your next turn. Inspiring Words. As a bonus action, and this is kind of their basic support ability. So, bonus action, give yourself or an ally at 60 feet of you verbal and or somatic encouragement to grant them +1, 1d4 plus edge mod THP the last until you used up, or 10 minutes pass. Increasing to +1d6 if they're bloodied, and this progresses as a cantrip would by 1 dice at 5th, 11th, and 17th level. And whenever you use this, you can expend tactical edge to instead heal the ally by that amount. And any overhealing is converted to THP. And the HP won't expire after 10 minutes. So basically, it's your main support and heal. There are a few other abilities named, but Commander's Attack is currently, the idea is going to be that you're able to attack while you command an ally as a standard action. Though I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to make it work. But the tactics, the default 4 are going to be Phalanx, Bravura, Skirmisher, and Mystic. Also, the edge modifiers. So Phalanx is Intelligence, Bravura is Charisma, Skirmisher is Wisdom, and Mystic is Int as well. And they also get a extra proficiency, so This is currently available to all of them. Phalanx have history, and of course this is another skill if you already have it. Bravura is intimidation. Skirmisher is survival, and Mystic is arcana, because of course they are. Currently Skirmisher and Mystic are incomplete. I do have basic ideas where Mystic, of course, casts spells. Skirmisher is going to be more mobility focused, but Phalanx we can actually show off alongside Bravura. Phalanx have fortified position. As a standard action, you can command yourself and each ally of your choice in 15 feet of you with verbal or somatic components, and grant them -2 on attack rolls and save DCs, but +2 to AC in saving throws, while reducing their speeds by -20 feet until the start of your next turn. And you can expend a tactical edge to increase the bonuses, not the penalties, by plus edge. So you add even more AC to AC and saving throws. So basically this is just defensibility of, hey, we're really getting hit hard. Hunker down. It does make you slow, and it does limit your accuracy, but it can still save lives. That's kind of the idea where it's like you get a defensive ability of like, okay, everyone, hunker down. The dragon's about to breathe its breath weapon on us, and just reduce damage by a lot. Bravura Tactics, meanwhile, has Brave Gambit. As a bonus action, you give yourself or an ally in 60 feet of you verbal and or somatic encouragement to grant the +1 d4 to their next damage roll before the start of your next turn, and they can choose to let you grant an additional plus edge bonus, but the next time they take damage before the start of your next turn, they take an extra 1d8 damage. And you expend a tactical edge to give the target edge THP as part of this bonus action. So basically it's a risk/reward ability where your ally can do more damage, but where it's like, it's always, hey, have some extra damage. But they can also increase it, but risk taking more damage. And you can also use this as a way to give some extra THP out. So that's the current stuff I have for the Warlord. And that's just it for this preview in general. So I hope you all have enjoyed this little look into my D&D 5.5 project and I think everything that's been going on with it, as well as some potential new stuff in the future. If you have any suggestions for some ideas, please feel free to give them. And that's specifically on anything for what I've shown. I already have an additional 10 other classes to work on, but if there's any more suggestions and ideas for how to modify subclasses I haven't gotten to yet, feel free to give them. But without further ado, I'll see y'all next time. Halo Zoo, out.